next speaker, and that's our first female speaker of the day, Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. How the
Good.
coffee is kicking in?
Yes, I've had two now.
Yeah, me, three. Okay, awesome. Awesome to have you with us, Olivia. If it's okay with you, I just take the time to say a couple of words about you, and you can set up your slides.
Cool.
So, Olivia is the head of digital PR at Digitaloft in the UK. She's passionate about driving results through creative concepts and interesting stories. Through her talk, she'll be focusing on what makes a killer PR strategy and the one element we all should be getting smart on. You can expect fantastic use of gifs and memes throughout. Well, we're all looking forward to that. Take it away, Olivia.
Brilliant. So I'm assuming you can all see my screen now. That's great. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. Today I'll be talking through how to get smart and smash targets with your digital PR strategy. So my name is Olivia Smith and I am the head of digital PR over at Digitaloft in the UK. So that of course makes me a digital PR, a creative, but also an SEO. Now, when I first joined the industry, I didn't regard myself as an SEO. I very much kept in my own PR lane, focused on links and coverage, with a mindset of leave the SEO to the experts. However, in recent years, I've come to realize that I am in fact an SEO. And I say this because I can build links at scale, but understand the importance of the right links. So that's relevant, high quality editorial links that actually make a difference. I can increase the site's visibility, see increases on organic traffic, all resulting in an organic search uplift. And this all comes back to good old links. So we know great links increase a site's authority, which leads to higher rankings. And on just Saturday last week, Google's very own John Mueller tweeted out saying that digital PR is just as critical as technical SEO, probably more so in many cases. So I think as soon as this was tweeted, digital PRs around the world rejoiced, as it finally felt like the industry was getting the credit it deserves, and it really showed the impact that digital PR can have when done well. And it felt like that was finally being realized. But with a great digital PR strategy, you can do so much more than just links. You can build brand awareness. If you create something cool and make sure everyone knows about it, get people talking about the product, campaign or research that you've launched, you can make sure that your brand is not just recognized, but remembered. You can build social engagement. By utilizing content and campaigns that you're creating on social media, you can encourage people to engage with your brand on these apps that they're using on a daily basis. You can gain trust. So create campaigns and content which is recognized and trusted, and position your brand as the go-to for customers. The next is authority building. So consistently create these campaigns or content which gain coverage, layered with expert comment and insights which build authority both online and off. And then referral traffic. So this is probably one of the most important, and to me as well. To drive real traffic, your links have to be clicked on. And with the right sort of campaigns, you can do this. It's all about relevancy and resonating with your key target audience. So two areas which should be a large focus for 2021. So that's relevancy and resonating. So from social through to referral traffic, all of these things drive sign-ups, sales, subscribers, customers, aka more money for your business, which is what most businesses are working towards. But how? Well, it all comes back to a solid digital PR strategy. Now, if we were all in a room together, which maybe one day we will be, I would ask some of you what the key elements of your digital PR or link building strategy look like. And I'd imagine for most, it could look like this: a campaign, an asset, a media list, potentially some pitches, maybe some traditional link building tactics, maybe even some guest posting. Now this is fine, but it's 2021 and you have to be bigger and better than your competitors. If you want a real competitive edge, you have to be thinking 2 steps ahead. In the UK alone, there are over 200 agencies which offer digital PR. That's a lot of campaigns, digital PRs, interns, execs, strategists, all gunning for the same coverage and links as you. And that's before we even start mentioning traditional PRs and all of their teams. And while the rate of PRs is growing, journalists' time is actually more stretched than ever before. We've never seen as many budget cuts, job losses and redundancies, and that's in the UK, Europe, and in the US as well. So that's more and more PRs for less and less journalists, and their time is becoming even more stretched. So what does that mean for me, for you, and for the industry? Well, it means you have to work harder. You have to stand out. Your stories have to stand out amongst those 200 other agencies and those thousands and thousands and thousands of PRs all pitching to the same journalists. It also means that your stories have to be digestible and easy to write up and put together to create a story. Basically, it means you need a badass digital PR strategy. So the start of that digital PR strategy needs fantastic ideas. So now more than ever, we're finding that agencies are doing similar campaigns to each other. The same ideas are coming through in ideation sessions across lots of different agencies. So now your ideas have to be more innovative. They have to be more original to really break through the noise of what everyone else is doing. And these ideas have to be backed up with strong and reliable data. We live in a post-Trump world where not many people trust the news or trust what they see in news publications online, and journalists are looking for that strong and reliable methodology, a methodology that they can trust. But this data also has to tell interesting and original stories. The same stories that we used to push out a year ago are now old news. We have to be thinking bigger and better and coming up with new stories that keep people engaged. And we have to target a wide audience. However, we have to target a wide audience, but be smart and make sure within that wide audience is our key target market. So we have to think smart, but to earn links at scale, we have to think wider. And that's where it all comes back to ideas. We need visual and linkable assets. We're noticing within our team that a lot of journalists are coming back regularly and saying they have a no-link policy. They don't provide links in articles, or they'll charge you anywhere between £50 to £1,000 to include a link. So it's more vital that you're creating a visual and linkable asset and providing value on the end of that link. Give the journalist a reason to link. If it's an interactive element, more data, maybe expert comment, tips, advice, add the value to that link. Give the journalist a reason to want to send their reader to that page. It's super important. And then targeted but wide media lists. So when I started at Digitaloft many years ago, we were sending out infographics to thousands of journalists. Send it out to as many people as you can and just hope that something sticks. However, now you have to be more targeted. You have to make sure that your lists have every journalist who could possibly cover that campaign, but also ensure that everyone on that list is relevant to what you're pushing out. Take the time to understand the media and the types of people who are consuming those different titles. And then a cracking pitch and headline. Journalists receive thousands upon thousands of pitches every day, as you've seen from the 200 plus agencies and the thousands of PRs. So your pitch has to stand out. Your headline has to stand out. What you create and the way you construct the pitch and that headline has to get someone to open the email, click the link, and cover that campaign. And that has to become a well-structured pitch. And then an always-on approach. So after ideas, I'd say this is probably the second most important thing within the process, especially as we move into this new year. This is fusing almost traditional PR tactics with your digital PR strategy. It's getting on top of news checking, commenting on trends, putting together expert insights and comments, and positioning your brand as thought leaders within the industry. If you want to be featured in the news, you have to move just as fast as it does. Now, as a manager and having trained lots of people, I can tell you that 80% of things on that list you can teach. Media lists, you can teach someone how to build one. How to construct a pitch, you can teach someone. How to create fantastic headlines with work, you can teach that. However, there are certain factors of this strategy which actually are a little bit more tough and not so teachable. And that all comes back to ideas. In a recent Twitter poll, I asked which part of the digital PR process do people struggle with the most. Over 35% came back and said ideation and validation is the pain point. And it's true. In very few industries are people expected to come up with ideas at the rate that digital PRs do. In some cases, it's literally a daily basis of having to come up with new, exciting ideas. And to maintain momentum, innovation, originality, and creativity can feel tough. However, we know that if you can nail the idea and the story, then the research, design, list building, pitching, and reporting all becomes 10 times easier. So this is where we need to start getting smart with our ideas, putting in the time at the start to make the rest of the process more of a dream. So today I'm going to chat through how we do that process, how we ideate at Digitaloft, how we take it in 2 phases, and how that all works now that we're remote. So we start with a brief, and I would say a brief is one of the most important parts. You starting without a brief, going into ideation without a brief is like turning up at the airport without your passport. Your ideas just aren't going to fly. So here's a really simple view of how we create a brief over at Digitaloft, and how these should be being structured to make sure everyone going into that ideation has a really great grasp on the client, what they do, and what our focus is. So open with who the brand are. What do they do? What are their products? They're about us, link to their blog. Make sure everyone can really get into who that brand are and exactly what they offer. Then find out target keywords for the quarter or any product focuses. This allows ideation to be really focused and relevant, which is key for campaigns in 2021. And then the what. How many campaigns are we going to be creating? Have they specified a format? Can we do interactives? What's the KPI? Make sure everyone knows the goals for these concepts before we go into ideation. Campaigns which have worked well in the past. What have the brand done in the past? What's worked well? If there are things which haven't worked well, include those as well. There's a lot to be learned from what's already been done. Include some topics in there, top-level topics, just to provide some inspiration and a starting point for ideation. Campaigns for inspiration. What else are other people doing within the industry? What other campaigns have been created that touch on similar themes and topics that we might want to explore? Include that. Then find out dream publications. Where does the brand want to be featured? Where do they want to see their name within the news? List these. Then the team can go away, they can go and explore these publications and get a really good idea of what's being talked about and how we could potentially create something to land in those publications. Find out the target market. Who is this brand targeting? Age, gender, personality types. This then allows us to figure out where they're hanging out online and create campaigns that actually get in front of potential customers. And then competitors and some analysis notes. So find out competitors, both direct and higher level, and see what they're doing. Traditional digital PR, campaigns, what blog posts are doing well. List these things so everyone can really get a good scope on the industry and what's being done. And then any notes from the client. Anything that's going to help us shape our understanding of the brand and what we want to create for them. So the solid brief, it needs to include everything we need to know about the brand, their key products and focuses, their target audience, and their goals. And this all needs to be sprinkled with some inspiration to go into ideation. So once you have your brief, it's then time to go it alone. So Lou Dorfman is an American graphic designer, and he said that creativity is essentially a lonely art, and even lonely a struggle. It is in reality the ability to reach inside yourself and drag forth from your very soul an idea. And I love that, because ideation can really feel like that sometimes, where you are literally dragging from yourself an actual idea. But the thing to focus on here is that creativity is essentially a lonely art. And to really get started on the ideation process, you have to go it alone to begin with. There's no one else there clouding your thoughts, and it means you can get really stuck in to the brief. So take the brief, get to know the client, the brand, what they do, their products, their tone of voice, and then it's time to start doing some research. So let's assume that I work with a client called I'm Tired. They specialize in bedding, duvets, and everything that relates to our bedrooms. So first of all, start with the news. Take some of those keywords. So sleeping, nightmares, bedtime, sleep routine, sleep issues. Go and look on Google News, see what's being talked about. What are the hot topics? What's trending? What do people care about within this subject? Then go and have a look at the data. What data can we find? We know as digital PRs that if you find a cracking data set, that could well be the inspiration for your next campaign. Look on Google Dataset search, look on health bodies such as the NHS, CDC. Is there any apps within the industry that publish data? Are there any research bodies? And then if you're really struggling, just go and Google data on sleep or data on beds. Whatever it is, just go away and search. Immerse yourself in all these different data sets and research. And then this is probably one of my favorite ways to work, is to work backwards. Once you've had a look at the news and you've got an idea of the different data sets out there, just start writing out some of the dream headlines that you'd like to go to press with, or that you'd actually read. Write them out, be creative. So UK is named Europe's bedbug capital. 60% of divorces are due to bedroom peeves. Brits' beds 10 times dirtier than a toilet seat. Write these out and we can come back to them later. There may be a way to work backwards. Create the story you want and then make it work. Then take the competitors. Go take them from the brief, find more, and discover what they're doing. So where are they getting coverage? What campaigns are they putting out? What topics are they talking about? How are they gaining links and coverage in national media? And then go and look at other campaigns. So this doesn't have to be competitors' campaigns. This can just be really great digital PR campaigns that touch on similar themes and trends that you could potentially be talking about. And see where they're getting coverage, the data they're using, the stories they're creating, and write it all down. Write everything down during this process, all into one big research document. Deconstruct campaigns, the data, stories, formats, coverage. Make notes and comments. Annotate what interests you and why you've decided to pull that piece into your notes. Underline the trends and headlines which you like. Play with the data that you find. Can it be flipped? Are there historical records? Are there any trends? Can we predict the future? Again, annotate all the time on these data sets. Bold all the buzzwords and colour the data sets and stats that interest you. Now, this might be my personal preference, but I find when I underline, bold and colour things, when I come back to it to ideate off, these things all stand out to me, and I find it's a really great way to ideate from there. Donatella Versace said that creativity comes from a conflict of ideas, and this is what that research document should be. It's a conflict of headlines, data, trends, campaigns, all coming together to allow you to then ideate. And write whatever comes into your head. Write all the ideas you could possibly think. Explore further into things that excite you. So some top tips for solo ideation. Ensure you have a tight brief before starting. Speak to the client and get an understanding of exactly what they want and who they are. Write everything down. Having this research sheet which you can refer back to may help spark ideas later, and it will also come into play later on in the process as well. And highlight and explore the things which pique your interest. Look into the data, research and headlines which actually excite you. And don't get bogged down in the ifs. So this part of the process is all about creativity, and at this point we don't want to stifle it. Then it's on to the fun bit. So this is all about where the team comes together to discuss their ideas and really start putting some ideas in place to move forward with. So the first stage is to show and tell. All jump on a call and discuss your research documents. Pick 5 things each that you love, that you found, whether it's data, campaign, headlines, and discuss them. Just start talking about the common trends and themes that you've all found. And then do some word association. So obviously at the minute we're all remote, and I've found, and I know plenty of my team have found, that creativity is quite hard whilst we're constantly sat either in the same room, we're constantly answering emails, we're on more work calls. Slack, it's constant communication. So to break away from that and go and be creative is actually really important. So we all jump onto a Google Sheet, a shared sheet, whilst we've got our video call up in the background, and we'll select a keyword and either a theme or a product to ideate around. And we just start shouting out words whilst typing them in, and everyone can see what's going in there. And it's just a really nice opportunity to kickstart your creativity and get your brain thinking in a quick fire way. It's also a really nice opportunity to let our brains just think freely and be creative, be wide and imaginative. So we do this for around 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll all go and take a break. So switch off your videos, put yourself on mute, put Spotify on if that's your jam, go away and for 10 minutes write down as many ideas as you can, looking at the word association, looking at your research sheet, and get down on paper as many ideas as you can in that time. And then it's time to come back together. The PR team are going to hate me for this screenshot, but it's there. We all then come back together, and each person goes through and they discuss the ideas that they've come up with, why they like them, the data they'd use, the stories that they could potentially tell. This is a really great time to get discussions going, get conversations going about ideas, challenge each other on the ideas that we've come up with. We know at Digitaloft that some of the best ideas we've come up with have actually started through silly conversations. So top tips for group ideation. Never have more than 5 people. It gets very loud and it can just take a lot of time to get through the process. Ensure everyone has seen the brief and solo ideated. If anyone's turning up to this group ideation not having done the research or seen the brief, it's a waste of time. So that is really important, that everyone's doing the first phase first. Make time in your calendars. I think there's a real reluctancy to make time for things which are actually fun and enjoyable, but ideation is so important. If you don't put the time into ideation, the rest of the process can feel 10 times harder and you actually end up with no links and no coverage, and it's been a waste of time. Be versatile. If you're in a big team and you have the ability to invite lots of different people into these ideation sessions, do it. Try having someone from PPC in there, or the technical SEO, or one of the designers. Bring different people in. Ideas is all about perspective, so try and get lots of different people in those sessions and discuss what interests you, what excites you. And then it's time to validate. So at this point we should have hundreds of ideas. Some of them will be great, some of them will probably be terrible. And that's why validation is so important. We don't want a bad idea to get through. So I always ask these 5 questions as a minimum. The first is name me 10 publications. Who would cover this campaign? Are these publications relevant to the brand? Are these the types of publications where the target audience hang out online? And are some of these publications on the dream list? If you can't name 10 publications, then the idea probably isn't that good. Write out 5 headlines. Do these headlines tell the story clearly? And could we tell that story in one line? We know that as PRs, that to get an email opened, we have to sell the campaign in a subject line. If you can't sell your idea in a subject line, you may want to rethink it. Does this subject line or headline make you want to read the article? Would you click on it? Would you read it? And have we seen these headlines before? Are we pushing old news? Okay, so we've got publications, we've got headlines, but how are we going to prove this? Do we have data to back it up? Is it trustworthy and reliable? Go and speak to your team, speak to your content, your data, your insights team, chat through methodologies and see what's actually possible. And then, can this be done within budget? Is the data free? Is it easy to obtain? Do we have the resources to get this? And probably one of my favourite questions, and more relevant than ever before, is would we want this link if Google didn't exist? We need to make sure that what we're creating is relevant to the business and product. Is it going to appeal to the target audience? And is that link between the business and campaign obvious? We have so many journalists come back and are seeing now more of a pushback on relevance, and these campaigns have to be relevant to the brand and what they do. And then finally, has anybody said, wow? Does this concept get people talking? Do we all want to know more? Speak to people outside your core team and get their opinion. If it's not within your niche or not something that you're interested in, go and speak to someone who is. I would say the biggest indicator of a fantastic idea is when somebody suggests it and 5 minutes later we're all still talking about it. If you can get 5 people talking about a campaign, imagine what you can do when you push that out to the press and to the public. So we need to stand out. We need to be smart with our ideas, and we need to put in the time and be creative, because we know that fantastic ideas plus great stories equals links that people actually click on. So some final takeaways from me. Understand why we are creating these campaigns. Yes, it's for links and brand awareness and organic growth, but we have to be newsworthy and tell interesting stories that actually excite our audiences. It is about more than just links. Harness your creativity. Get involved within the industry, see what's trending, what's working, what's not. And it's all about taking inspiration, but not repetition. Immersing yourself in other people's creativity will allow you to start that creative process. And finally, maintain your momentum. Digital PR ideation can feel tough, but keep going, keep pushing your ideas, learn from your mistakes, learn from others, and keep pitching, keep pushing until you've smashed all of your targets. You'll go. And that's everything from me.
Hey Olivia, very nice, the memes and the gifs, as you promised.
All the memes and the gifs.
Absolutely amazing, yeah, I love it, thanks a lot for that. And our audience loved it too. We got a couple of questions for you. Do you care to answer them real quick?
Yes, yeah, sure.
The first question is getting mentions from PR campaign helping to improve search visibility?
Yes, I think if you're getting links, then sure, yeah. Links is all going to help improve search visibility. It's all working towards the same goal. Mentions, if they're just brand mentions and no links, obviously you're not getting as much SEO value, but the brand awareness and things like that are equally as important and as good for the brand as the SEO. So yeah, links, great to improve search visibility. But the right type of links, they have to be editorial, they have to be relevant and good quality.
And do follow, no follow?
Well, obviously as digital PRs, whether a link is follow or no follow is out of our control. And obviously follow links are better for SEO, but no follow is still now a hint. So I'm as a head of digital PR, I'm happy with no follow and follow. I think they're both equally as good.
Healthy balance.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell us one idea as example?
An idea in which sector? What do you want? Give us an industry.
What kind of industry? Think of an industry. What industry do you usually serve at?
Lots. So lots of different industries. I'll tell you one of my favorite campaigns that we've run recently. So for a client in the travel industry, we created an interactive piece all around the best beaches for nudists in the world. And we pitched this out, we looked at lots of different factors, created a really great visual asset, and pitched this out to press around the world, saying these are the best features for nudists. And it did really well. I think we earned over 100 links, and it was very relevant and topical.
I can imagine, that was interesting. Okay, Jurgita asks, how long lasts the process of research and ideation?
Yep, so typically once we've gotten to know a client or a brand, it takes 2 weeks, I always say. 2 weeks to ideate, research, have a number of sessions, and then start validating those ideas. Sometimes it can take longer, but typically I'd say 2 weeks for the ideation, and then research anywhere between 2 and 3 weeks, depending on how complex of a campaign it is.
Okay. Something to follow to get updating on PR industry. So who to follow? Except for you, of course.
Twitter is amazing for keeping on top of the PR industry. Digital PR Examples is a great Twitter account. They post a lot of great campaigns. There's also the content curated newsletter, which is fantastic, and PR in Progress by Abby Bennett. It's a great newsletter.
Awesome. Thanks. And the final question would be for SaaS companies, how would you go about building a PR strategy for a SaaS company?
I think it's all about getting to know the brand. We'd run a lot of onboarding sessions with you to really figure out what it is that you want to do and who your target market is. And then we'd go from there, holding lots of ideation sessions. And yeah, it's all about getting to know the brand, no matter what sector they're in. Yeah, get to know the brand, and then the ideas will follow.
So basically, it's not the branch, it's the brand that one needs to focus on when creating a digital PR strategy.
Yes, I would say so. To maintain relevancy, I think a big trap that lots of people have fallen into in past years, and we've done it as well, is to create campaigns that aren't relevant. But if you spend the time getting to know the brand and their product and what they do, their services, you can create fantastic digital PR campaigns that earn relevant links at scale.
Awesome. Another question just came in. Is LinkedIn a key channel for B2B PR? Yeah. LinkedIn's great. Yeah, Twitter as well. I mean, LinkedIn, Twitter, they're both great for B2B PR. Yeah. Okay. Any other channels that you can think of or that you use, maybe?
No, I think Twitter has to be my favorite. The digital PR and PR industry are very alive on there, and they're good to follow. It's good to keep on top of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Olivia. Thanks a lot for all the wisdom that you have imparted on us regarding PR, digital PR. It was very exciting and valuable, I think, for all our viewers. Thanks a lot. And
thank you.